Vienna is more than Austria's capital. It is a city where layers of European history sit almost visibly on top of one another: Roman military roots, medieval trade, imperial ambition, revolutionary music, grand boulevards, and modern diplomacy. Today, Vienna has just over 2 million inhabitants, making it Austria's largest city by far. Its wider metropolitan area is home to nearly 2.9 million people, close to one-third of the entire country's population. That concentration gives Vienna an unusual weight inside Austria. It is not simply the biggest city, it is the country's political, economic, and cultural center. To understand Vienna is to understand how one city became a meeting point between East and West, tradition and modernity, empire and republic. Vienna's importance begins with geography. The city lies in northeastern Austria, on the river Danube, one of Europe's great historic waterways. For centuries, the Danube connected peoples, goods, armies, and ideas across the continent. Vienna also sits near the eastern edge of the Vienna Woods, the northeastern foothills of the Alps, where the landscape begins to open toward the Pannonian Basin. This location made the city both a gateway and a borderland. To the west lay the alpine regions of Austria, to the east, the plains leading toward Hungary, Slovakia, and beyond. Bratislava, the capital of Slovakia, is only about 50 kilometers away. Hungary and the Czech region of Moravia are also close. Vienna's geography helped make it a crossroads, but also a strategic prize. Long before Vienna became a capital of music and empire, it was a Roman military settlement called Vindobona. Founded in the 1st century, Vindobona was part of the Roman province of Pannonia, a frontier region where Rome faced the challenges of defending and organizing its northern borders. The settlement was originally a castrum, or fortified camp, but it grew in importance over time. In 212, it was elevated to a municipium, gaining Roman city rights. This early history matters because Vienna's later role as a strategic and administrative center was not accidental. Its location had already proven valuable in antiquity. Even after Roman authority faded, the site remained important enough to be shaped by successive peoples, including Lombards, Avars, Slavs, and later the Baiuvarii. After the Roman period, Vienna passed through centuries of transformation. The region became part of shifting zones of influence, including those of the Lombards and the Pannonian Avars. Slavic populations formed a major part of the region's demographic landscape for a time, and from the 8th century onward, the Baiuvarii settled in the area. These changes remind us that Vienna was never isolated. It was shaped by migration, conquest, settlement, and cultural exchange. The city's later identity as a German-speaking imperial capital emerged gradually, not instantly. Medieval Vienna grew from a frontier settlement into a more defined urban center, positioned within the developing political structures of Austria. Its future changed dramatically when powerful ruling families began to make it their seat. In 1155, Vienna became the seat of the Babenbergs, the dynasty that ruled Austria from 976 to 1246. This was one of the great turning points in the city's history. A ruler's seat attracted administration, wealth, trade, religious institutions, and urban growth. In 1221, Vienna was granted city rights, a status that strengthened its legal and economic position. City rights gave Vienna a clearer framework for self-government, commerce, and civic development. By the medieval period, Vienna was no longer just a strategically placed town. It was becoming a political center. The foundations of its later imperial grandeur were laid during this era, as streets, markets, churches, and institutions expanded around the presence of power. The dynasty most closely associated with Vienna is the Habsburgs. After succeeding the Babenbergs, the Habsburgs gradually turned Vienna into one of the central stages of European politics. During the 16th century, they established the city as the seat of the emperors of the Holy Roman Empire. This gave Vienna a role far larger than its local surroundings. It became a place where imperial ceremony, diplomacy, aristocratic culture, and strategic decision-making converged. The Holy Roman Empire was a complex political structure, made up of many territories across Central Europe. Vienna's status as an imperial seat meant that the city became deeply connected to questions of power, religion, succession, and war. It was not merely Austrian, it was European. Vienna held its role as a seat of imperial authority until the dissolution of the Holy Roman Empire in 1806, with only a brief interruption. But the end of that empire did not end Vienna's importance. In 1804, the Austrian Empire had already been formed, and Vienna became its capital. Later, it remained the capital of successor states, continuing its long association with government and administration. This continuity is one reason Vienna developed such a dense historic character. Capitals accumulate buildings, archives, monuments, ministries, and symbols. They also attract people seeking influence, employment, education, and patronage. Over the centuries, Vienna became a city of court culture, bureaucracy, and urban sophistication, where political power shaped everything from architecture to social life. By the 18th and 19th centuries, Vienna was one of the largest German-speaking cities in the world. For a time, it was the largest, before Berlin overtook it at the beginning of the 20th century. Its population peaked at around 2 million inhabitants before that shift. This growth reflected Vienna's imperial role, but also the broader urbanization of Europe. People arrived from many parts of the empire, bringing different languages, customs, skills, and ambitions. The city was German-speaking in its public and administrative identity, but the empire around it was multinational. That gave Vienna a distinctive character, elegant and hierarchical, but also diverse and dynamic. It was a capital where Central Europe's many identities met in close quarters. Vienna's most famous cultural legacy is music. The city is strongly associated with the age of Viennese classicism and with a long line of composers who helped define Western classical music. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, Ludwig van Beethoven, Joseph Haydn, Franz Schubert, Johannes Brahms, Anton Bruckner, Gustav Mahler, Arnold Schönberg, Johann Strauss I, and Johann Strauss II are all linked to Vienna's musical story. This did not happen by chance. The city had courts, salons, theaters, churches, publishers, wealthy patrons, and an audience that valued performance. Vienna offered composers a place to compete, experiment, and be heard. Music became part of the city's identity, not only as entertainment, but as a language of prestige, emotion, and cultural memory. The idea of Vienna as a music capital is powerful because it covers both refinement and transformation. Haydn and Mozart are associated with clarity, structure, and classical form. Beethoven, who spent much of his career in Vienna, pushed music toward greater drama and emotional force. Schubert gave the city an intimate lyrical voice. The Strauss family made Vienna famous for waltzes that still evoke ballrooms, elegance, and imperial society. Later, Mahler and Schönberg represented more modern, challenging directions in music. Through them, Vienna was not just preserving tradition, it was also producing change. The city's musical heritage stretches from courtly classicism to modern experimentation, making it one of the most influential music centers in European history. Vienna also played a major role in the history of ideas. It was home to Sigmund Freud, the world's first psychoanalyst, whose work transformed how people thought about the mind, memory, dreams, and unconscious desire. Freud's Vienna was a city of grand public order and hidden private tensions, a place where strict social codes existed. Alongside intellectual curiosity and anxiety about modern life. His work emerged from this world of cafes, clinics, universities, and urban debate. Vienna's influence, therefore, was not only political or musical. It also helped shape modern psychology and the way 20th century culture understood the self. The city became a laboratory for both artistic and intellectual modernity. The physical city tells this story through architecture. Vienna's historic center contains rich architectural ensembles, including Baroque palaces and gardens that reflect the ambitions of aristocratic and imperial society. One of the most important urban features is the Ringstrasse, a grand boulevard developed in the late 19th century. It is lined with monumental buildings, parks, and public institutions. The Ringstrasse was more than a road, it was a statement about modern urban power. It replaced older defensive structures with a circular showcase of culture, government, and civic pride. In 2001, Vienna's city center was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Its heritage status recognizes how architecture, planning, and history are woven together in the city's core. Modern Vienna remains internationally important. It hosts major global organizations, including the United Nations, OPEC, and the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. This gives the city a diplomatic role that echoes its imperial past in a new form. Instead of ruling over a multinational empire, Vienna now provides a setting for negotiation, international administration, and global policy discussions. At the same time, the city balances preservation with development. Its historic center was listed as endangered by UNESCO from 2017 until 2026, showing how difficult it can be to protect heritage in a living, growing capital. Vienna's challenge is to remain functional and modern without losing the historical depth that makes it unique. Vienna's story is the story of a city that repeatedly reinvented its power. It began as Vindobona, a Roman frontier settlement. It became a medieval city, then a dynastic seat, then an imperial capital, then a center of music, psychology, diplomacy, and heritage. Its location on the Danube connected it to the wider continent, while its rulers and artists gave it a reputation far beyond Austria. Today, Vienna is still the country's largest city and its central hub, but its significance is not measured only by population. It is measured by the ideas, sounds, buildings, and institutions that have flowed through it. Vienna is not simply a beautiful old capital. It is one of Europe's great historical crossroads. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.